Mets and Cubs getting set to open a 3-game series here at Shea Stadium on a gorgeous Monday evening in New York. One of the great pleasures of coming to the ball game is getting here early to watch batting practice. But what goes on during batting practice? How do the players handle it? What are they working on? What's the social setting down by the batting cage? I'm going to take you inside for a look at just what goes on before the ball game around the batting cage. Let's go down to Chris Cotter and Keith Hernandez.
Well, thanks, Gary. Keith, you've been in the cage a few times with BP. Now, fans, as Gary was saying, they come here early, but they don't know about the whole procession and what takes place. Exactly how does it? How do you go about with BP and make it work?
Well, you have a ritual here. Normally at home, you usually get 50 minutes to hit. On the road, you get a little bit less, so you have less hitting. I never felt you got enough hitting on the road. First round is always 2 bunts, 1 down the third base line, 1 first, then a hit and run, then you get 10 swings. That's the first round. Second round, you get 8 swings. Third round, you get 7 swings, 6, as much time you have left. There's 4 groups of hitting. You've got the first 2 groups are your extra men. And I'm sorry, your first group is your extra men. So they get shortchanged on hitting because you have 5, 6, when I played, 6 extra men. So they get shortchanged on the hitting. They don't get enough. Then you have the 1, 2, they have 3 groups of the leadoff, the lineup, 20 minutes apiece. That's a lot of hitting, and that's plenty. So you can usually get probably around 25, 27 swings.
Well, who polices it? Who shuttles one group in and one group out?
The hitting coach. The hitting coach is in charge of that. And all guys try to cheat extra swings. So you run them out of the cage. You know, it's our round. Now you get out. It's my turn to hit.
Well, when you're in a slump, how much does that impact or change the way you approach taking BP?
Well, when you're in a slump, I always took BP the same way, and I worked the whole field. But when you're in a slump, you definitely have to concentrate more. A lot of guys I know, when they were in a hot streak, got very careless in their batting practice, and that's a very bad habit. It'll get you into a slump. It's very important to stay disciplined, and so you don't go into a prolonged slump, or you maintain that hot streak.
All right, now the hitting coach, how much does he have an impact on you when you're in the cage in terms of instruction, and maybe even fellow players? How much do they talk to you? Well,
that's kind of a double-edged sword, and I've had some great hitting coaches. When you're a young kid coming up and they try to change you, what are you going to do when you're 21 years old and you got a guy who played in the big leagues 10, 15 years of success is saying, hey, you got to do this, maybe do this different, and that can mess you up. When you become a veteran and successful, I would just always tell my hitting coach, look at this. These are the bad habits I get into. Just if I was in a slump, I get the bat over my head too far, and just make sure the end of my bat doesn't go over the top of my head. I had a tendency to wrap the bat. So just little pointers for the coach to watch and say, okay, and then that'll keep you in check.
All right, thanks, Keith. Good to see you down here. Nice tie, by the way.
Oh, my Met tie.
Cubs and Mets coming up. Keith along with Gary and Ron.
New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by ChevyOffers.com, the presenting sponsor of Baseball Night in New York. By Rico, move your ideas forward with Rico dependability. By Honda, see your Honda dealer and discover the great values now being offered. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. Visit geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by Aflac, ask about it at work. Steve Traxel makes his 20th start of the year for the Mets. Hasn't lost a game in more than 2 months. And here's the Rico Cubs lineup that he'll face. Michael Barrett has been on a tear, but significantly missing from the lineup. Back on the DL, Derek Lee, who's missed most of the season with a wrist injury, has inflammation on the wrist and went back on the disabled list today, and that takes a huge chunk out of the Cubs offense.
Steve Traxel pitching today 9-4. The thing about Trax is that he's been really going through all these games with a lot of rain, and here having a beautiful night to pitch on. 49 strikeouts, 50 walks. You usually don't see those kind of numbers, but Traxel not a strikeout pitcher anymore.
Wednesday in Cincinnati, came back after a nearly 2.5-hour rain delay in the second inning. Lasted into the fourth, and they had faltered. And Juan Pierre takes his first pitch for a strike. Pierre got off to a miserable start in his first year as a Cub, but has been picking it up since. 2 hopper to Reyes, and he throws out the speedy Pierre, 1 away. So 1 out and nobody on.
And here's the Geico Met defense. You see 105 2/3 innings with Traxel, only 1 error, and ironically
that error was committed by Traxel.
Now, that would certainly belie what we always talk about with a guy who works at a rather slow pace. We talk about players, position players, being back on their heels. Well, if this hasn't been a single error made by a position player behind him, wouldn't that put to lie that thought?
Well, pitchers will always find a way. You always try to keep, no offense, Ron, you try to keep them out of the game. You know, you want them to go 0 for 4, so don't run the bases. They'll find a way to mess up. That's just a rare case where you got Ron, who was the consummate professional.
Well, I got a lot of practice because I always had to run for Rusty Staub my first 2 years here at Shea.
1-1 to Cedeno as Michael Barrett, hitting third in the order, waits on deck. And the curveball popped up. And Chris Woodward gets the start at second base tonight. Has it for the second out. So 2 out and nobody on. And here is Barrett, who has been the hottest bat by far in the Cubs lineup, and even hotter since he came back from his 10-game suspension for slugging A.J. Pierzynski.
You're in a slump, give him someone a right hook.
That was a cheap shot, wasn't it? I thought it was.
It was definitely a cheap shot, but you don't see a lot of good shots. That's the only second one I've seen since Ray Knight.
Well, I tell you what, and we'll wait for this pitch. If someone copped a Sunday on me like that, I would get him at some point down the road. I would lay and wait for his butt
because it's embarrassing.
Well, it was only a matter of time before somebody took out Pierzynski. And that's hit to deep left center field. Floyd gives it a courtesy glance, and that ball's gone. Michael Barrett with his 11th home run of the year. Boy, he's just raging hot right now. And Traxel, who had not allowed a home run in his last 4 starts, gives one up in the first inning, and it's 1-0 Chicago.
Third baseman, number 16, Ramirez.
Well, Traxel just really trying to go away with his fastball. He cannot live up in the strike zone, especially against a guy, as Gary said, who's as hot as Barrett. That ball was outer part, but that ball was up and straight.
It's around belt high, right in the wheelhouse.
So 1-0 Chicago. Here's Ramirez, and he takes a curveball for a strike. Ramirez, 21 home runs, 61 RBIs. He hit 5 home runs in a 3-game span this last week to boost that total. 1-1 to Ramirez. But this is just a very different Cubs lineup without Derek Lee, and you know they operated without him for more than 2 months, and now they're without him again.
And we're almost at the point of the season now where the teams that are the also-rans, and the Cubs are certainly in that category, 19 games out, start seeing players being called up and bench players being played a little more, young players given a look. That man can pitch right there.
We'll see Carlos Zambrano tomorrow night against Tom Glavine. Traxel behind 3-1. Is it a point in the year where you just start playing for yourself?
That's a good question. Playing for yourself. You still can play for the team, but you know it's individual. It's one sport where you're not going to have a championship team with an ERA that's last in ranking or a batting average that's last. You know, it does take individuals to perform, so you always want to have the best season that you can have. It's how many at-bats you give away.
3-2 to Ramirez, and he walked him. But it's got to be awfully difficult, I would think. I mean, the Cubs are playing their 98th game, which means they have 64 more to go after tonight, more than 2 months, and they know they've got no chance.
Well, that being said, I think pride comes in. I mean, what kind of person are you? Are you the kind of person that's going to quit and give in? Or are you the kind of person that's going to say, hey, professional means professional, whether you're on a winning team, a losing team, you have a good manager, a bad manager. That's what you get paid for. You get paid to every day be out there, you know, and perform the way you can.
Here's Jacques Jones, and he takes a strike from Traxel. Well, the Q word already came up yesterday after the Cubs lost in Washington 7-1, got swept there. Dusty Baker was asked if his team had quit, and of course he said no. But if that's coming up in late July, that's a problem.
Agreed. I was extremely fortunate in my career where I got all those lousy seasons out early in my career. The Cardinals were kind of, when I first came up, first 2 years I played were in contention for the division and lost in the last week of the season, and then went through a dry spell of around 4 or 5 years. was rebuilding. And then from 82, actually when Whitey Herzog came in middle of 80. The rest of my career I played with contenders. So I was lucky.
1-1 to Jacques Jones, hitting at 291 on the year. 2-1 the count.
And Keith, I was just the opposite. My career early on was always winning teams, 90 wins in 1984. And so I never tasted any of that until late in my career with the Oakland Athletics. And there's nothing worse than playing with a bad team, not being a very good player as I was. You know, that's how it gets late in your career. And you just, you know, for a pitcher especially, and talking about Maddux pitching today, if you are, you know, where you've lost some of your physical skills, but you have all of your mental skills and you still know how to win ball games, but you need the help of your team's got to play excellent defense. They've got to score you some runs. When you're playing on a bad team, that's hard for even a Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer like Maddux to win.
3-1 to Jacques Jones after Traxel walked Ramirez. He got the first 2 outs, and now Jones rifles one down the line. That's an extra base hit. Ramirez on his way to third as Floyd digs it out. He's being waved home. Reyes, and now he stops. Well, he was being waved home, but Ramirez slammed on the brakes anyway, which was probably a smart thing to do because Reyes had that ball in good order.
Well, you see Traxel trying to run this fastball away from Jones. He is the kind of hitter that likes the ball up and away, and he can drive that ball down that left field line when it's positioned in that place.
That was just a beautiful how to hit right here. Now this, we just talked about guys playing seasons out. This will get your teammates angry. He was being waved home. Not even looking. He had no inclination to score. Did not want to score.
A substitute third base coach, Mike Quaid, is working for the Cubs for the yelling Chris Spire. Called up just the other day. He had been managing at AAA for the Cubs. But you're right. I don't think Ramirez ever looked at him, did he?
He didn't look at him, and he slowed down. He didn't want to score.
It's Phil Nevin, and he takes a breaking ball for a strike. And Traxel throwing a lot of curveballs early.
Keith, let me ask you a question. Something's happened that I just haven't ever seen as much as I've seen this year. Runners look at the ball. They don't pick up their coaches. He was obviously looking at the ball the entire time. Now the play's in front of him, but at some point you got to pick up the third base coach.
Well, that play right there, a player can make up his own mind because, as Ronnie said, the play's in front. You really don't need the coach. But once you make up your mind, almost a little over halfway to third base, whether you're going to go or not, and you can make it. You've already made your mind up. So there's no more need to look at the ball. You pick up your third base coach.
1-1 to Nevin, and he lifts one in the air foul down the line. Delgado, and he runs out of room. The thing about it is, I think Ramirez did the right thing. I think he would have been thrown out at the plate had he gone.
I think he would have also, but I think that what happens is that as a base runner, you correct me if I'm wrong, Keith, you have to bust it hard because plays in front of you, and it's obvious that probably Cliff is going to come up with it and not be able to score. But what if he bobbles it? So if you're going hard, you might be able to score.
Keeps your options open.
You've always got to go full board.
Well, we've seen it more than once recently. Guys not running hard when they need to run hard. Heck, we saw it here yesterday with Aaron Heilman in a different kind of a situation. Traxel ahead on Nevin, 1-2. 2 in scoring position with 2 out. And he misses with the splitter, 2-2.
Well, here it is right here. You're going to have the double box here, so you can watch the play as it unfolds. Now, he's not the quickest of foot. Now, he lets up right here. He's not full boarding. That's my argument. Okay, that's the argument. You got to go hard.
Well, he wasn't going that hard from first to second. 2-2 to Nevin. And the splitter misses. It's 3-2. Now the Cubs have been shedding players already. They traded Scott Williamson to the Padres over the weekend, and Nevin, whom they picked up from Texas earlier in the year, is maybe the next to go. Todd Walker has been benched the last week since that ugly series he had against the Mets. Is on the bench again tonight, and he might be dealt.
Listen, you're not 37 and 60 for no apparent reason. There's got to be things that you're not doing as a team.
And that's ripped down the left field line. That'll bring home 2. Ramirez and Jones score. Nevin heads to second. Floyd's throw does not get there. A 2-run double for Phil Nevin, and Traxel has yielded 3 runs in the top of the first inning. All of this coming after 2 out and nobody on.
The left fielder, number 19, Matt Burton.
Well, again, Traxel with that 4-seamer trying to paint that outside corner. Sorry, paint that inside corner as Duca sets up inside. Down and in, and Phil Nevin has been known in his career that he's quick inside. But if you're going to get him out, you got to get him up around the hands. Down and in, he's very dangerous.
Well, Nevin's had a habit of beating up on the Mets. Back when he was with San Diego, he had all manner of big hits. In fact, Nevin's a lifetime .349 hitter at Shea Stadium. So 3 runs home for the Cubs, and here's Matt Merton, the young left fielder, with Nevin at second and 2 out. And Merton takes the splitter 1-0.
I had a hunch he'd kind of change the program. He's been hurt on his fastball this inning. And I think he's just going to change the program here and maybe start mixing more of his splitter and his curveball.
Traxel has not lost after a Mets loss this year. Got under this one as Merton lifts it to left. And Floyd puts it away to end the inning, but the Cubs with a 3 spot in the top of the first inning against Traxel. The league's lowest scoring team scores 3 as Barrett gets them going with his 11th home run. And the Mets come up down by 3. They got the pebble out. Greg Maddux looking for career win number 326, and the wins have been hard to come by since early in the season. Got a 3-0 lead as he takes the mound and misses high to Jose Reyes. Reyes struggling a bit since coming back from the finger injury. This is his 7th game since returning. He's just 5 for 22. And Maddux falls behind 2-0.
See Maddux's numbers this year. You know, with the Cubs, started his career as 131 and 112. Did most of his damage with the Braves were 194 and 88.
And it's been tough. You're right, Gary, for Greg. 0-6 with a 5.32 earned run average in his last 7 starts. He's been roughed up.
Looked good early against the Mets in his start 2 starts ago, but in that double play not turned behind him, and it exploded into a big inning, and the Mets wound up scoring 6 runs against him in 7 innings.
Well, it makes you wonder, because you've got Nefi Perez playing second base, and I would think, and this is a good example, I think, Ronnie, with Sid Hernandez, a fly ball pitcher, Nady was able to throw Howard Johnson at short, or even Kevin Mitchell.
3-2 to Reyes, looped the other way, and it was foul and untouched.
But you got a ground ball pitcher. You want to make sure you have your best defensive infield out there.
Well, we mentioned Todd Walker, who not only had the problem behind Maddux in that game, but then had the awful inning when the Mets scored the 11 runs in that Sunday night game. And he's been substantially sitting since then in favor of Perez. On 3-2, Reyes pulls one right into the glove of Nevin, 1 away. So 1 out and nobody on. Day off for Jose Valentin as we check out the Chevy Mets lineup. Carlos Delgado getting it going after that long-term slump. 3 home runs in the last 4 games. Well, here's Duca, who stays hot. 2 doubles yesterday. Get that average right to 300.
There's Todd Walker.
Toward the hole, and another base hit for Duca. Duca has gone up there with a great plan the last 2 days against a couple of strike throwers in Oswalt and Maddux.
Yesterday did swung at the first pitch and hit a double down the line. And here again, little sinker down and in for Duca. Comes back over the plate. That's really been Maddux's problem in the starts that he's had. Gone 0-6. The ball's coming back over the plate.
I think he's lost some velocity too. He's older and lost the sharpness of the bite on his sinker. It's more of a lazy sinker now, and that gives the hitter that much more time to see where it's going to break.
Here's Beltran with 1 out and 1 on. Then how does an older pitcher compensate?
You have to do different things. You have to make up different pitches. Glavin's done it. Martinez has done it. Mel Stottlemyre used to say, as a pitcher, if you can see your ball sinking, way too much sink. It's got to be late and something you can't even see. It's got to be late in the strike zone.
That's a great point.
1-1 to Beltran.
And that's coming from Mel, who was a great sinker ball pitcher.
When he used to throw to the pitchers, if he get mad at us because everyone's trying to swing for home runs, he'd start throwing the sinkers down in our hands. Broken bat after broken bat after broken bat.
There's a changeup grip. It's 2-1 to Beltran. Carlos Delgado looming on deck. Delgado's never had a whole lot of luck against Maddux.
Well, Carlos Delgado's holes in, and Maddux in his prime has been one of the best right-handers at pitching left-handers inside.
Barrett sets up away, and Beltran fouls it off 2-2.
And Beltran right now not having a great homestand. Now, granted, it's only been 3 games. He's 2 for 11 in that Houston series. Wanted to play the other day. He wanted to sit him down, but he wanted to play. Continuing his tough luck, not hitting at home and wearing out the road.
He and Delgado have both been far better on the road, but it's even more pronounced for Beltran.
So he's hitting for power at home, and 10 home runs is nice. But that's a large discrepancy there.
Two and 2 to Carlos. Maddux misses low, 3-2.
And that's a good pitch right there. That's a, I don't know if that's a splitter or whatever he did. That had a lot more sink to it, Ronnie.
That's his changeup, but sometimes he'll really turn it over. See the spin on that? It's almost like a screwball.
But right now, there's only about a 5-mile-an-hour difference between his fastball and his changeup. And Beltran rockets one to right. Back goes Jones. He won't get it, and it bounces away from him. So Duca to third. He's being held by Maddux. I thought that Duca might be able to score when that ball bounded away from Jacques Jones. But with 1 out, Acta held him at third.
Well, he's misplayed off the wall here. He gets caught too close to hit about a quarter of the way up the wall. Duca does the right thing here and gets a hard time running. Get it started. Now, Manny Acta played very conservative here, and in his defense, you're down 3 runs. Fine.
But again, Keith, Duca, after he saw the ball landed, looked back over his shoulder a second time instead of picking up the third base coach, right?
Well, it all started with Willie Mays. Willie Mays was great at doing that. Willie used to always look over his shoulder. My dad used to go crazy.
Paul Duca, Willie Mays. Paul Duca,
Willie Mays could have juggled 3 balls while he was running the bases.
Here's Delgado, infield back. They'll concede a run. He's the tying run at the plate, and he'll get 2 home with this. Duca in, Beltran right behind him. A 2-run single for Delgado. 10 RBIs in his last 5 games, and the Mets are right back within a run. And that's just the 2nd hit for Delgado in 19 career at-bats against Maddux.
Well, this is really good hitting right here, and it's a fast. Try to come in and watch the ball come out over the middle enough. Not that bad a pitch, but that, to me, we talked about it, Gary, in Cincinnati last road trip. And we were asked, when's he going to come out of the slump? Well, we know. Well, when he starts getting 3 hits, when you can break out of a slump, you usually break out and go into a tear, and it looks like Carlos is on his way.
Here's David Wright, and he takes a strike. David tied for 4th in the National League with those 79 RBIs, tied with Beltran. So 3 straight hits for the Mets against Maddux, who went to the mound with a 3-run lead, and now it's just 1. And that's driven to left center. Pierre gets over to play it on a hop. Delgado will go to third nonetheless. And the Mets have runners at the corners. 4 straight hits, and they're just tattooing Maddux here in the first inning. And the pitching coach, Larry Rothschild, will take a trip to the mound.
Well, the ball is not sinking. It is just straight over the plate, and it is flat. And when the ball is flat, it just runs right up the bat and usually runs right up the barrel to the sweet spot. And that's what it did with Wright as he hit the line drive to center field.
You know, we talked during the open about the possibility of Maddux being available at the trading deadline, even to a team like the Mets who have been looking for pitching. But you watch Maddux right now, as you look at his numbers both in April and then since, you wonder whether right now he's a good risk.
Well, I think what you get with an older pitcher is that you get a guy who has a good start, bad start. Against Clemens in his last start, he only gave up 3 runs in 7 innings. But I say this, Maddux at this point in his career is going to be a guy. He's not going to be a guy who's going to come here and go 7-0. He's going to have some struggles also, and that's what you have already.
Right. And that's been the point all along for Omar to consider. Are you getting something better than what you have now if you go out and get a pitcher? Tying run at third for Floyd. That's a double play grounder to short. Perez with the turn. Not in time. Nathan Perez falling away into left field to make that throw. Floyd running hard, and the Mets tie the game.
Well, here's the mistake right here. Cedeno waits for the ball to come to him on a not a hard hit ball. That costs the 1 step. That's the difference. And to watch, you can see Maddux, he thinks he's got it. No, you don't. So
here we go again.
Frustration. And
well, infielders certainly do not like to see that, but I will say that on a double play ball that you need to turn in that situation, I would like to see my second baseman catch the ball, stay in there, and maybe take a blow, but throw a strike with something on it instead of falling away from the base.
That's what we saw when Robbie Alomar was with the Mets. Toward the end of his career, every double play, he would try to avoid the contact by falling away, and that's what Nathan Perez did.
well, it's not Nathan Perez's fault there. Nathan Perez, it was the fault of the shortstop by not charging that ball, getting it quickly, and then he just kind of, how do you do it to Perez? And Perez was caught in position where he had to throw it real quickly off balance. The shortstop has to charge that ball. It's not hit hard enough. You got a very fast runner in Floyd.
He needs a crisper toss, like you were saying.
He got to charge the ball too.
Okay. Well, it's like what we saw Todd Walker do in Chicago, right? 0-2 to Nady.
This one is worse than Walker. Walker at least charged the ball. Watch your shortstop here. Ball's not hit hard. He's waiting for it. You got to come get it. Come get it. Now two-step and a flip. He's forcing Perez, who knows he's got to rush. That's why they didn't turn the play. The double play.
Ronnie Cedeno, first year as a full-time shortstop for the Cubs. And Nady takes a call, third strike. Maddux got him to end the inning, but the Mets get right back even against Maddux, who steams his way toward the Cubs dugout. New Yorkers love a good debate, and Daily News Live is the place to find one. Gather around the table for fast-paced New York sports talk. Daily News Live, weekdays at 5 p.m. on Sportsnet New York. Big crowd gathered on a Monday night at Shea Stadium. 3-3 as we go to the second. Nathan Perez leads off against Steve Traxel, who ran into two-out trouble in the first. Nathan hitting at .249. Started almost half the games for the Cubs this year. Second, short, and third. Toward the middle and off the glove of Reyes. A ball he thought he had. And Perez takes the wide turn as Reyes goes after it. Well, this is a base hit for Perez.
This looks like it's going to be one of those wacky games here. This is a ball that normally Jose puts it in his back pocket. That ball was a bullet. I think it fooled him. He hit his glove.
It hit him on the bottom of the glove. In fact, not in the pocket. Hit him on like the thumb.
He had to take his eye off the ball there.
And do you think he's trying to avoid catching balls on the outside of his glove because of the finger?
Could be.
He might be, but that ball was hit pretty hard to try to catch it in the webbing. So
Maddux up there to bunt and gets a beauty down. Delgado slaps the tag on him, so Perez up to second with one away. That's only the second sacrifice bunt of the year for Greg Maddux. How's that possible?
I don't know. One of the best bunters of all time, right behind Tommy Glavine with sacrifice bunts. Well, last place team, not a lot of 8th place hitters on base.
This is a Cub ball club. That's what last in runs. Your leadoff hitter in Juan Pierre with over 400 at bats only has scored 48 runs.
Pierre got off to a miserable start, and he never walks even when he's going well. His on-base percentage just .320. And a check swing, tapper. It's a fair ball. The Duca checks the runner and throws out Pierre, 2 out. Smart move by LaDuca to grab the ball and ask questions later.
Well, when you're a hitter, you go foul, get foul, get. No, oh, we got the bat on it in fair territory. What is the rule on that? If the bat goes down, hits the ball, hits the ball in fair territory.
Well, if
it's intentional, he's automatically out.
Yes.
And that's what they ruled. They ruled that he's out for hitting the ball a second time, which you're not allowed to do. So the play goes 2 unassisted because he was out at that point. You can see which umpire called it, but that's the way they ruled it. So there are 2 out, and here's Ronnie Cedeno. And he takes the curveball for a strike.
How many goofy plays have we seen now in this first inning and a half?
They're goofy, and
it's a continuation of yesterday is what it is. Reyes not in need of sunglasses today.
That's right.
It being a night game.
That's a no-no. What happened yesterday?
One and one to Cedeno.
You know, with Steve Traxel, he's been going so good, and you know you're going good when you give up 3 runs in the first. You sit down, you're upset, your team scores you 3 again. It's almost like you got a reprieve from the baseball governor, and you can go back out there and try to work your way through it again.
Good fastball by Traxel, 1-2.
Well,
the Mets tacking up 3 more first inning runs today.
And that is one thing they did in the last road trip, Gary. Obviously we saw it, and there's the runs, the most in the Major League Baseball. And they hit first on the road. They just got ahead every game. They just pounded him.
The third, one long hop for Wright, and he'll run over and put a tag on Perez to end the inning. A play that you very rarely see third baseman make in that spot. But it saved Wright a throw, and we go to the bottom of the second.
Celebration of the 1986.
Greg Maddux takes him out for the bottom of the second in a 3-3 game. And it looked like Willie Randolph wasn't really pleased with the way David Wright handled that last play. As Chris Woodward smacks one to third. And Ramirez throws him out, 1 away.
Willie is always the teacher, and he says it in the papers in his quotes. He's here to help and teach. He's a winner.
Why do you not want your third baseman to do this?
Well, number one, if I'm Dusty Baker, I'm more angry. You want to force the third baseman to make the throw. He might throw it away. He throws it away, run scores. You don't get caught and tagged. So the Cubs are really asleep at the switch here.
There's Traxel. So you're saying Perry should have retreated?
So yes, and forced the throw.
Yeah, just kind of stop almost and make him make the throw, then continue to third. But I think what I would say is one of your most valuable players, your third baseman David Wright, you don't ever want him getting in some kind of rundown. What if Nevin Perez ducks under him? Next thing you know, he goes tumbling tea over tea kettle, and something bad happens to him and he gets injured.
Well, here's the other question then. Is Wright trying to save himself a throw?
No.
2-1 to Traxel.
You always want to get the easy out. It's a routine ground ball. It's 5-3 on your scorecard. The only way you can mess it up is throw it away. So I think Davey's saying, geez, Keith.
Time warp.
Yes. Willie's saying, get the easy out. Don't get caught up in that. But Nevin Perez can't get caught up in that neither.
2-2 to Traxel. I guess my question is, why did Wright just not throw the ball?
Well, we've seen him do it a lot this year so far. Go tag third base for a force out. And that's a different story when it's a force out. So That's a very good point. We should ask him tomorrow. But I'm sure Willie said, you know, get the easy out. Just get it. It's an automatic.
Traxel keeps the at-bat alive. Steve has a home run this year among his 4 hits. Jose Reyes on deck. That's wearing pinstripes for the 2nd straight day. And Traxel takes a call, 3rd strike. 2nd for Maddux, who, despite the fact that he's never been known as a strikeout pitcher, is 12th on the all-time strikeout list.
That's innings, innings, innings.
When he was pitching well, it was 8 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, no walks, 7 punch-outs. I mean, that was his line. It seemed every start.
And 15 ground balls.
Yeah. And fast games.
Reyes lined out to Nevin at first. His first trip, takes a strike.
That's an 84-mile-an-hour cutter right there. A little cutter on his hands. And 84-mile cutter, boy, you've got no margin for error.
To Reyes. That just misses 1 and 2.
Pounding him in.
That's that 2-seamer that Maddux has gotten so many called 3rd strikes with over the years.
But it's set up by the cutter. He cuts it in, so the ball starts in the middle of the plate and works its way in. The first couple early in the count, and then he throws that one at you. So you think if it's at me, it's going to come even more in, and it does. It takes a right turn.
Reyes slaps it foul. Rick Reed became very proficient at doing that during his time with the Mets. That same Maddux-like pitch.
Rick Reed could pitch.
Boy, he did a fine job here, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Guy the Mets got off the scrap heap and turned into a very important piece. Reyes wastes another one away.
That's another thing that happens. We've seen that happen occasionally to Tom Glavine. Seen it occasionally happen to Pedro Martinez. As you get a little older, you don't have that pop. A lot of your pitches that you want contact with. That's a changeup he wants Reyes to roll over, but it just doesn't have the same quickness, and they foul it off.
Down to first, and Nevin was inclined to wait for Maddux, then took it himself, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for Maddux. So we played 2 innings at Shea, tied at 3.
He left him up in the strike zone in that first inning. This one's a little better down to Nevin, but he was behind in the count, allows the hitter to get the bat head out. But after they hit those fastballs, just like the German Autobahn, he decided to change lanes. So he's going to go to the breaking ball and the split finger for a while.
I like that analogy.
Of course, you go 120 on the Autobahn.
That's right.
Afraid Traxel's not getting quite there. Barrett hit his 11th home run of the year, first time up. And he misses with a curveball, 1-1. Well, Traxel in his last start against the Cubs at Wrigley, when he faced Maddux, allowed just 3 hits in 6 innings. He's already allowed more hits than that tonight. Woodward moving in and throws out Barrett, 1 away. So 1 out and nobody on. Let's see what Traxel's season has been like. The biggest difference between the first 10 and the last 9 is that column on the right.
Boy, I tell you, you can really make it work when you're getting 9 runs a game.
Oof. I tell you what, 4.1 runs a game is pretty decent too. It's not bad.
It isn't bad.
That would leave you last in the league. The Cubs are last in the league in runs scored. They're at 4.1. There's our Ramirez. But Traxel hasn't lost a game in over 2 months. I mean, at a time when the Mets have been without Pedro for a month and where Glavine has cooled down a little bit, he's taken up the slack.
Hey, listen, the one thing that's never underrated or overrated is wins. I mean, that's your job as a starting pitcher. It's not always going to be you who gets the wins. It might be the team or one of the relievers, but every time you toe the mound, if your team wins, you are a good starting pitcher.
Ramirez walked his first time up. You know, who was a master of that was Jack Morris. Jack Morris would win games 5-4, 6-5. His ERA was high every year, but he just won.
Poor LaDuca caught another one in the thumb.
Well, that's not going to go away if it's ligament damage. You can see he got the under his thumb there. That hurts.
And it always seems to be on that same kind of ball where that glove is turned down and it bends that thumb.
He's tough.
He's getting it taped up. I kiddingly told him he needs Angelo Dundee to tape that up. That's how bad that thumb is right now.
But he keeps hanging in there. 2-2 to Ramirez.
Well, you can see right there. That's a lot of stuff on there. And guess what? All that protection. It's not going to get it done. That ball hurts when it comes in over 90 miles an hour.
Well, the way Paul was telling it, it's not even like you can get a cortisone shot in there because it's a ligament that's hurt. And cortisone won't even help. 3-2 to Ramirez. Let's check in with Chris Cotter. Chris?
Hey, Gary, you should see the way he has that thing wrapped after a game. I mean, it's like a club, and we were asking him about it last night, and he said to give us the prognosis, and he said it doesn't matter. You know, they said, well, do you have an X-ray? He said it doesn't matter. I'm not coming out. So I don't really care what the diagnosis is. I'm not coming out of the game, and that's that.
And the curveball misses high, and for the second time, Traxel walks Ramirez. This time after being ahead in the count.
Well, you know when that thumb's going to feel better? Around mid-January, after he's had a couple of months off. That's the only thing that will ever make an injury like that feel better.
Just in time to go to spring training and start getting it pounded again.
Now, you're mentioning Jack Morris. Jack Morris had I played with Dave Stewart. They both could do this. They could win a game 6-5, 7-5, but they also, when they faced the other team's ace, they'd win you a game 1-0 or 2-1. They could pitch to the game.
I don't think Jack Morris had that high of ERAs. When he was in his payday, he pitched. He had good years. We should look that up. He had the best split finger I've ever faced from a starter. Wow. To go with he took just the right amount off. He had that quick motion like he was going to throw through a brick wall, and he just took the perfect amount off of that splitter.
And he pitched as clutch a game as there ever was in Game 7 of the World Series in '91.
10 innings, right?
Great battle with John Smoltz in Game 7 of that World Series.
He's one of the good guys too. I mean, those are the games you remember, but he always was great down the stretch in pennant races. He was the guy you wanted out there.
Good fastball, and Traxel ahead on Jacques Jones, and here's where the Jacques Jones statistic kicks in. After the count goes to 0-2 this year, Jacques Jones is 0 for 60.
Oh.
And going back to last year with the Twins, he's 0 for his last 70 after the count goes to 0-2.
And guess what? He's aware of it.
And guess what? I bet she gets a hit here.
Bill Nevin hoping he does so he can follow it up in an RBI spot. Nevin drove in 2 his first time up. Jones doubled down the left field line and scored on Nevin's hit. Tapper back to Traxel. Reyes takes the low throw but throws it away. Jones will hold it first. Now Reyes had to deal with a low throw and handled it nicely, just didn't make a good throw.
Well, Traxel fields his position well, just makes the wrong throw here, the bad throw. Not really bad throw, but not a good throw.
First baseman, Phil Nevin.
And you see Ronnie right there, he turns, just doesn't execute the throw. Makes it tough for Reyes to get a handle.
Well, as a pitcher, you got to hit the player in the numbers. You want to hit your shortstop right in the numbers so that he can almost come across that bag, have that momentum going towards first.
Reyes and Ramirez got untangled. Reyes got a break when that ball hit the photo box that kept Jones from going to second base. And now here's Nevin. So they get 0 for 61 for Jacques Jones after 0-2.
I had a conversation with Bud Harrelson once where we were doing PFP, and you know, you have plenty of time to just talk about nothing. I told him, what is he like on a double play from the pitcher? He wants the ball quickly, or does he want it accurately? He said accurately. I can make it work if I get a ball where I can handle.
Nevin takes a strike.
And that's true, and it was shown right there on the throw with Reyes. He had to reach back forward. He lost all of his rhythm. The fielder is going to come collected to second base, so he'll be able to make his adjustment. You just want to throw it to the bag, let him get there.
On a ball that's hit as slowly as that one was, though, is there a tendency to rush the throw even more?
That's probably what happened.
There is. I think that's what's happened. And the key for you is, as a pitcher, if you're a good fielding pitcher, of course, Maddux will have 15 gold gloves. He knows how to do it. You have to collect yourself and get your momentum and your crow hop already working on a slow hop like that, so you can get rid of the ball quickly. You don't want to catch it and then have to turn. Traxel did that. He got his body sideways so he can make that throw. He just kind of threw a little sinker in there.
Harder play for a taller pitcher?
Yeah, I think it'd be harder for a guy like Heilman and Pelfrey. They're all legs. They got to bend down more. They're more lanky.
The curveball misses to 1-1. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling, Keith Hernandez with you from Shea Stadium in New York. Mets and Cubs opening a 3-game series. Chris Cotter's along as well. Steve Traxel yielded 3 runs in the top of the first. Mets got him right back against Maddux in the bottom of the first. Phil Nevin drove in a pair with a 2-out double, and he takes a breaking ball that misses somewhere. 2-1.
Well, it was right there hanging for a launch. Nevin took it. Watch this. This is not where he wants to leave it. Oh my word.
But it's a strike, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I mean, it looked like it was right down the middle.
That is a good pitch to a hit.
Jim Reynolds is the home plate umpire tonight. I think that pitch must have fooled him.
It did fool him. He must have been sitting at middle in dead red.
No, I meant the umpire.
Oh, it's not supposed to fool him.
On 2-1. Good up and in fastball. 2-2.
Interesting, in Nevin's first at bat, when he got the hit, the ball was down. That pitch is up in the strike zone. That is a place that you can pitch Phil Nevin, and you could always pitch Phil Nevin his entire career.
It's like Pete Incaviglia.
Inky.
All the big, strong, powerful, muscle-bound kind of guys, you got to get that pitch up and in.
And Nevin's probably bigger than he's ever been. Lifted to right center. Beltran got a good break, and he's right there. Side retired. So Traxel works around a walk in the top of the third. We go to the bottom of the third, still tied. We go to the last of the third at Shea. Paulo Duca will lead off. And we talked about the heavy wrap on the thumb and how many shots he's taken to that left thumb behind the plate, but with it all, Paul just keeps on hitting.
And as you saw, he does not wear it when he bats.
Behind the bag, Perez against LaDuca is able to throw him out. Nifty play by Navy Perez off the deflection from Maddux.
Well, Maddux is always in a position to field his position when he follows through and gets a glove on. A nice play by Perez. And the defense for the Cubs, as you see, Ford, brought to you by Ford, Jacques Jones, Pierre Merton in the outfield. See Nevin at first base today.
Derek Lee going on the disabled list today, back on the disabled list. Lee had played 20 games since coming off the DL, was hitting just .227 without much power, and just gives you the idea that he was never really fully healed from that broken wrist.
Well, he knew his team was scuffling. He tried to be a gamer and come back early, and it just didn't work out.
And now it's to the point where they're 19 out. If it's bothering you, you just go bag it.
Punt.
Let him heal it for the offseason.
Maddux making his 64th career start against the Mets. Beltran gets out in front of him. Beltran ripped a double off the right field wall his first time up, his 24th double of the year. Maddux was waiting for Jacques Jones to get back to his position. Beltran grounds one to Perez. 2 away. So Maddux has now retired 7 in a row. And here comes Delgado, who yesterday delivered a Coors Light cold blast.
Well, he's been getting out in front, and now that he's come out, you can see he's more like a golfer. It's a very similar swings, just on different planes. You don't lean forward in golf, you don't lean forward in hitting. And Carlos was out in front for all that lengthy slump he was in, and now he's starting to hit the ball back up at the plate. And if he gets hot, look out.
First time up today, poked one to left center for a base hit that drove in a couple of runs. 10 RBIs in his last 5 games, now 67 for the year.
So you're saying everyone as a hitter has different strategic points for him. Posture is a big thing for him, I guess.
Well, it's all about balance. There he is again. And those are all great signs. That is a pitch he would not hit. He's grounding to second base all day long during his slump. The last, what, 5-6 weeks, Gary? Has it been that long, that slump? About that long, right?
About that long, from the point in mid-June where the Mets had that great road trip.
That's a good sinker right here. Now, it's not a hard sinker. That's a good spot. Look at him go right with it. That is, to me now, he's out. He's out of the slump when you see Carlos Delgado do that.
Well, over the last 6 games now, Delgado 8 for 17. So not only hitting the home runs now, but 2 base hits to left center today.
He's going to make up for an awful lot now. You watch.
Well, he's a lifetime 284 hitter. Came into today hitting 254. Here's Wright with 2 out and a runner at first, takes a strike. And you know, they say that water generally finds its own level, and over the course of the season, most hitters end up where they belong.
Yes.
Every good hitter knows that they, you know, even though they lose their confidence at times, every player that plays this game goes through those ebbs and flows of losing your confidence, but they know in the back of their mind, their inner confidence, that if they're struggling right now, someone is going to pay. And Carlos, someone is going to pay in the second half.
It's just so interesting to watch. The game hasn't changed.
1-1 to Wright.
You know, when I went in slumps, the outside corner, and I said it before, like in football, it looked like 3rd and 25. You know, it looked that far away. Then all of a sudden you hit that pitch right where Delgado hit it, that pitch that seems so far away, and you hit it and drive it left center field, and you go, that's it, and you're on your way.
It's almost mystical. I mean, to hear hitters talk about being in slumps and getting themselves out of slumps.
Yes.
Because you can work and you can work and you can work and nothing works, and then all of a sudden something mysteriously kicks in.
That's why I always said you can never go home and stick your head in the oven.
Even when you're not having slumps, you shouldn't do that.
Cedeno gets the force at second, and that ends the inning. Words of wisdom. Don't stick your head in the oven. We go to the 4th. Steve Traxel takes the mound for the top of the 4th against the lower 3rd of the Chicago batting order. Matt Merton to lead things off. Merton just got under one first time up and flied out to left. Merton in his first full season getting a chance to play almost every day. And the Cubs thought that he would hit some home runs, but he's hit just 4 in 260 some at bats. Got the sideburns working nicely though. 1-1. On 1-1, it's lined past Traxel's glove and into center field. So Merton has a leadoff single.
Well, Traxel trying to pitch Merton inside, did not get it inside, and whew, luckily he follows through to the first base side, or that would have caught him.
Let's check in with Chris Cotter. Chris?
Well, thanks, Gary. I'm here with Brooklyn Cyclones closer Joe Smith. And Joe, how was that 26-inning game you guys played the other night? Now, you pitched in the 8th and 9th innings. What did you do the rest of the way?
I went into ice and I was like, I got to get back out there for the game. You know, I want to see the ending of it. And
It never came.
Yeah, it never did come. It was amazing.
Now you are from Wright State University of Ohio, 3rd round pick from the Mets this past year. You get finished with your college season. Basically 2 weeks later, you're living in Brooklyn, New York. How was that transition?
It's a little different, you know, all the big buildings and I mean all the people, and basically when you get 8,000 people a night at a rookie ball game, you're kind of like you're in shock the first time you walk out on the field, but it's definitely fun playing in Brooklyn.
Now, how about being here in this stadium? Dreams, obviously, of being out there on the mound at Shea one day?
Yeah, I mean, you get that little kid feeling in you when you come in here and watch these guys play. You know, I mean, a couple of the guys, we got to go down to the clubhouse and, you know, talk to some of them, and it's just like, you know, you're running around there, you have no idea what's going on, you know, with the big leaguers, this is where everybody wants to be. So,
well, hit and run for the Cubs. Matt Merton gets to second. Navy Perez, fielder's choice at first base, so 1 out here in the top half of the 4th inning. BrooklynCyclones.com. That's how you get your tickets. Joe, nice to see you. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, guys.
A closer named Smith. That's a pretty good formula right there.
That's right.
All-time saves leader Lee Smith.
I love Chris's play-by-play down there, by the way. I love him.
I loved.
He's come a long way.
Right on top of the hit and run.
Yes.
He also, when you were in Cincinnati, he ate a double hot dog and brought it into the double on the play. That was amazing.
Maddux just takes a strike. I'm just surprised that Chris is still standing after eating those 2 conies in Cincinnati. Just the memory of them, he's cringing.
You know what it is? It's not hot yet. He's been very lucky. It could be steaming. Wait till August, Chris.
Maddux sacrificed his first trip. And he swings over the splitter 0-2.
Maddux always in his career a very good hitter. Doesn't have a lot of power, but seems to always make contact. And he's trying to shoot that ball to right field. And as he took that last swing, they brought Xavier Nady in from right field.
On 0-2, Traxel misses high. Usually a pretty good idea to play that opposite field outfielder shallow against the pitcher. Hey, look at those. What are those called, Mom?
Those look like football socks.
Stirrups. Nobody wears stirrups anymore.
That's Maddux right there. He has the
Socks, yeah.
faux stirrups.
Which is also old-fashioned. Just not as old-fashioned as the actual stirrups themselves. As Maddux goes down, 2 away. First strikeout for Traxel, who has been getting very few strikeouts as the season's gone along. Had 6 in his first start, no more than 4 in any start since. Now explain for the youngsters who've never seen this before. There's Tommy Agee in his stirrups. How you wear stirrup socks. Are you guys old enough to remember?
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah, I wore stirrups. Didn't know anything but that.
I was the guy that would cut him down by the under the soles where the seam was. They always gave you the ones like right now who Pierre has. They were too low. They're ugly. You got to get them higher. You got to get them higher. So you put the elastic band, you sew them into at the bottom of the stirrups when you cut them, and get a little elevation there. But you always got to show your stripes. That was the one thing when I came over here. The Mets didn't have stripes in their socks, and it just so disappointed me because I was wearing those Cardinal stripes. Were awesome.
Cardinals are famous for the stripes. Rick Ankiel, before he melted down, used to wear those striped socks.
The Red Sox and the Cardinals have the best socks in baseball.
But nobody sees them anymore.
Exactly.
The air is 0 for 2. Called out an unusual play his last time up, where his bat hit the ball while it was rolling in fair territory.
Well, you think about the stirrups there. I bet you there's a lot of young players now that wouldn't know what sanitaries are. Because you'd come in and there'd be a big box of sanitary socks that you would wear underneath your stirrups.
Those are the white socks.
In our locker, the clubhouse man, in this case, it was Charlie Samuels, who still is a clubhouse man. All the clubhouse kids would have around 6 pair of sanitaries in our locker on the hooks.
They still have sanitary socks, but you know what they're used for now? They're used for, you know, putting balls or bats in to protect them.
Or rosin.
Right.
They use it on the on-deck circle.
That's a great style right there.
You can't even see the shoes, much less the socks.
Who's his tailor?
There's a seamstress somewhere saying you got to bring that up a notch.
These days, you go in the clubhouse and all you see are guys stretching out their pants and taking the elastic out of the bottom. 3-2 now to Pierre.
Well, the one thing they do different now, a lot of the players, is they wear their uniforms a lot baggier than they certainly did in the 70s and 80s. So you can see Cliff Floyd. He's got the same look as Reyes, but his inseam's got to be about 42 with those long legs.
3-2 to Pierre with 2 out. And he misses with the splitter, ball 4. There are the solid colored socks.
Is that how you wore yours, Ron?
No, I wore my pants kind of low and had stirrups. See, there's the stirrups.
Ah, there we go.
Thank you for having a picture that you did not see my face. I appreciate that. Or the mullet.
We still knew it was you.
Look at that. See? That is. I was doing a little dance.
You look like you're doing the merengue.
I like my socks.
Very
look at
nice.
that. That looked pretty hot.
Bet that guy's not wearing stirrups.
I still live on.
No, he's just hoping that Mets trade for Hernandez.
He's not wearing 17. Want to notice Cedeno, because if he got upset about Jose Lima wearing 17.
Oh, I got very upset when Koo wore 17 last year. I got hot. I read Charlie the Riot Act.
Well, it really worked because he gave it to Jose Lima.
1-0 to Cedeno. And he pops one up foul. That'll head toward the crowd. 1-1. Of course, talking about Juan Pierre, Pierre doesn't only have the stirrup socks, he also does something else that nobody does. He wears his hat underneath his helmet, which guys used to do, but I can't think of anybody else who does that now.
You know, another thing too is, look at that picture right there. It gives the umpire a good look at your knees to call up balls and strikes. There's a difference in color there. You wear the baggy pants, he's got a, you know, he might
misinterpret where your knee is.
Yeah, it's gonna be camouflaged.
1-2 to Cedeno.
Serious. I'm serious about that. The umpire knows where the knees are.
Then he should wear his pants up around his thigh. Well, and then the umpire would think it was a little bit higher.
Then there'd be a few people fainting out here in the stands. You can't have that.
1-2 to Cedeno. 2 out and 2 on. 3-3 game in the 4th. Cedeno 0 for 2 on the night. 1-2 pitch. Got him looking. Second strikeout for Steve Traxel, and he works out of 4th inning trouble. Take your stirrups and go to the bottom of the 4th. Cliff Floyd leads off in the bottom of the 4th. Mets and Cubs tied at 3. Cliff drove in a run by beating out a potential double play ball at first base his first time up. And Maddux works him inside. 1-0. Pedro Martinez getting ready to pitch against the Atlanta Braves on Friday night, which will be 1 month to the day since his last start in Boston. To right center field, hustling over is Jacques Jones. Can't get it. Pierre comes over to play the carom, and Floyd will stop at second with a double. Good effort by Jacques Jones, who's just now healing himself up. Looking around for a replay.
Well, I tell you right here, it's a sinker. Oh, but the catcher bring the glove back over the plate a little bit, so he didn't get it out enough, and that was enough for Cliff to get the barrel on it.
Right fielder.
Nice effort by Jones. Lenny Dykstra right there. Look at that. Lenny would have crashed head first into the wall, though.
He landed hard on that right shoulder.
Yes, he did. Very nice fall. But Cliff and Delgado now. Cliff, of course, who had the tough first half, slow first half. Delgado slumping since late April.
And Nady hits one well to center. Pierre back near the wall. It's off the top of the fence. Floyd will score the go-ahead run. Nady pulls into second with an RBI double, and the Mets go in front 4-3. And Nady barely missed a 2-run homer.
Well, that ball was covered. First pitch changeup. Tough pitch to throw against any hitter because you haven't established anything hard. This ball again drifting back over the middle of the plate. So both fastball and changeup from Maddux so far drifting back over the middle of the plate.
He knows he made a bad pitch. You can see him shake his head. And it's tough when you're getting older, and Larry Rothschild's going to go out and have a chat with them. When you've had such great, you're a great pitcher.
And the trainer's coming out as well.
Well, you know, we're going to take a look here, and hopefully nothing's wrong with Greg, but it's just tough when you've eaten up hitters your whole career, or as a hitter, you've eaten up pitchers, and then, you know, you get old, and old age catches up to you in this game, and not be able to do the things you used to do. It's very frustrating.
You know, Keith, early in my career, I used to always pride myself that two things. One, I would take the ball, and secondly, that you gave your team a great chance to win. Later in my career, at the end of my career, I could not say that honestly, and that's the time to hang it up. Here's a pitch from Maddux. See this changeup. It doesn't look like anything's wrong, but to tell you the truth, for the trainer to run out there that quickly tells me that in between innings, Maddux must have said or expressed that he was feeling some discomfort in some way, because they came out there very quickly.
Greg Maddux in every season from 1996 on has made at least 33 starts. He always takes the ball.
And look at his career wins. Active players, of course, and right behind Clemens.
And they went head-to-head in their last start, Clemens and Maddux.
Is Clemens considered active when he doesn't make a road trip?
Ouch!
Here's Woodward, and he takes a strike. Well, we were having this conversation over the weekend, Keith, about Clemens and his unique deal where he doesn't have to show up when he doesn't pitch. Woodward grounded out his first time up. And you know what Ronnie and I were talking about yesterday is that when you're winning like the Astros did last year, it's all hunky-dory. But when you're not, you wonder how that goes over with his teammates.
And you wonder why, when general managers and managers scream and yell these players today, well, who's creating the monster?
Well, I guess in that case, if they wanted Clemens, they had to give in to that unique demand.
Yes, he had some leverage, didn't he?
Maddux ahead 0-2 on Woodward, who's playing second base today, giving Jose Valentin a well-earned day off. To third, and Ramirez checks the runner, throws out Woodward, one away. So one out, Nady still at second. Traxel coming up. Let's check out the Aflac trivia question. Greg Maddux has won 13 games here at Shea, tying it for fourth most by a visiting pitcher. So who has the most wins by a visiting pitcher at Shea?
Didn't Marichal own?
Well, Marichal did, Kruko did, but you have to have someone in the division, I would think.
Yeah, that's true.
Some of Marichal's wins came at the Polo Grounds too.
That's true. Carlton, I know, had trouble against the Mets. I think had a losing record against them, if I'm correct. The only
Traxel drives one to center, but Pierre in to make the play. Pierre almost got caught flat-footed, but recovered, 2 out.
Well, there's the other side of a center fielder playing shallow. He can make the play there on Traxel, but the double by Nady off the wall, he didn't get to. I never liked the center fielder that played too shallow. I'd rather have him play slightly deeper than slightly shallow, because too many balls can get in over your head, particularly here at Shea, a bigger ballpark.
Here's Jose Reyes, who takes ball one, and yet who played more shallow than Willie Mays?
Didn't Kurt Flood play a shallow center field?
Paul Blair.
Paul Blair, yes.
1-0 to Reyes, who's 0 for 2 on the night. 2-0.
and a Mezigo from Florida Marlins.
That's right.
No, yes.
But he had every single ball hit over his head.
Yes.
Or so it seemed. Nady at second with 2 down. Mets have taken the lead here in the 4th after trailing 3-0. 2-1 to Reyes. Now the most advanced traffic information is just a click away with WB11.com's CommuterCast. Get real-time traffic updates on your computer every weekday afternoon at 4. Log on to WB11.com for CommuterCast. Reyes pops one up foul. That should make it to the seats. It's 2-2.
Well, Keith, the point you were making about the outfielders is a great point. I would really appreciate it when I was pitching, because if the ball's going over people's heads, then you're going to have a big inning. If you play that into a single, you give me another chance to try to get out of that inning instead of having a big inning.
Well, you got to go with your hitters. You play a little deeper with the power hitters. Jose Reyes, you might want to play a little shallower. Duca plays shallower. But certainly the Beltran, Delgado, or Wright, or Floyd, or Nady, you want to play a little bit back because they got power.
And doesn't it also depend on the individual center fielder? I mean, for instance, the Mets last 2 years had Cameron and Beltran. Cameron felt comfortable playing shallow. Beltran doesn't.
It is their preference how they want to play. Now, we all felt that Carlos plays a little bit too deep a center field. He's tightened it up a little bit. I know Willie Randolph wanted him to come in. He's a terrific center fielder. You know that. So he's playing a little bit not as deep this year. Sure. To me, is normal positioning, depth-wise.
Again, the 3-2 to Reyes, and he struck him out. So Maddux has his 3rd strikeout of the night, but the Mets grab the lead. Back-to-back doubles by Floyd and Nady. 4-3 New York as we go to the 5th. The answer to the Aflac trivia question: Greg Maddux, 13 wins at Shea, tying him for 4th most by a visiting pitcher. Who has the most? Bob Gibson. But you know who's second? And this would surprise you. Rick Wise won 15 games here, but there's an asterisk there because 2 of Wise's wins came against the Yankees the 2 years they played here in '74 and '75.
Rick Wise was a good pitcher.
Rick Wise once pitched a no-hitter and hit 2 home runs in the same game.
You just going to say he could hit 2. That was the great trade, Steve Carlton for Rick Wise.
Rick Wise had that good gas and a good hook, didn't he?
Yeah, it wasn't overpowering. He's a big guy. And I was a rookie come up in the Cardinals. He was on the team. He treated me like gold. He was just a sweetheart to me. Now, you never forget those things. The veterans that treat you great.
2-0 to Barrett, who homered back in the 1st inning, and Traxel misses upstairs. So Traxel, who's worked around trouble the last 3 innings, after giving up 3 in the 1st, and in danger of walking the leadoff hitter here in the 5th.
Well, you want to run a goose egg up here after your team has scored for you. I know it's redundant, but it's so true.
It's reality. I mean, that's what you have to do. This guy Conti, glad to have him back, right, Gary?
Good to see Guy back in the ballpark. Had an angioplasty just the other day, but right back at work. Barrett lifts one foul.
I'll tell you, those bullpen coaches are about as resilient as anyone you meet. They are old timers, tough as nails. Angioplasty on Saturday, back out there now.
Well, the Mets bullpen staff is getting healthy. Guy is back. Dave Racaniello is back.
That's right.
Bullpen catcher coming back from back surgery.
Of course, we had Vern Hoshite. Wow. Sergeant Carter.
Boy, he was tough.
Oh, man. When I came over here in '83, that bullpen was out of control. Brent Gaff got released because he was supposed to get up when he was in the clubhouse. Vern Hoshite came in. That was the end of it.
Took command of things.
Oh, boy.
He was Frank Sutton. Here's the 3-2, and it's lined over short. Base hit for Barrett. And the Cubs have the leadoff man on again. 3rd time in the last 4 innings. And so Traxel trying to protect a 1-run lead. Now has to deal with the tying run on first base.
Nope. Fastball down the pipe, outer half of the plate. Boy, Barrett really looks good at the plate, doesn't he?
Well, also the home run wasn't a ball on the outside part of the plate. That one also. So it tells me that you have to pitch him inside if you're going to get him out right now.
Well, Barrett's just raging hot. Well, here's the guy Traxel's been working around. Ramirez has walked twice. Can't really afford to pitch around him here. Ramirez 21 home runs on the year, including 5 in the last week.
Well, Ramirez looks like once again, folks, not to be. Don't think this is the Three Musketeer. It's not. He's looked like he's lost a lot of weight. To me, Ramirez. He looks fit. I've seen him much bigger.
Ramirez had big years for the Cubs the last 2 seasons. And they have counted him as a disappointment this year, but of course it's a lot easier when you have Derek Lee next to you in the batting order, which they've been without for most of the season. 1-1 to Ramirez.
Well, I just think we've seen the games, guys. This is, even when he was winning, this is sort of the MO for Steve Traxel so far through this streak, is that he'll have lots of base runners via the hit, via the walk, and he seems to be able, like he did last inning, to come up with that pitch to kind of get him out of that inning. And, you know, that's not the healthiest way to try to pitch, but it's worked so far for Traxel.
Well, it also doesn't get you deep into games because it raises your pitch count.
He's got 127 wins. That says something.
Hit to deep left field. Down the line, headed toward the corner, and it's out of here into the mezzanine. A monstrous shot by Ramirez, his 22nd home run of the year. And with that, the Cubs take the lead 5-4. So Ramirez has been a hot hitter. 6 home runs now in the last week. And he gives the Cubs the lead with his 22nd.
Well, with 2 walks in his first at bat, you can see the splitter from Steve Traxel stays up in the strike zone again. And when you hang a split finger, and let me tell you, I did many times in my career, this is where those balls go, because they sort of almost like sit on a tee right in the middle of the plate, and that's what good hitters do.
Well, they don't sink.
The ball has just exited the mezzanine, and it's sitting in left field now. That's a Wrigley Field tradition come to Shea. Those are the Azek Trimboards folks. Decided to toss back Ramirez's home run. You don't see all that many home runs in that mezzanine down the line. That's a real poke. The 4th deck here at Shea. 1-1 to Jacques Jones. Jones is 1 for 2, doubled back in the first. Cubs now with 5 runs and 7 hits off Traxel. And this is going to be a bullpen intensive game for both teams. Curveball balloons, 2-1. On 2-1, Jones fouls off the curveball, and it's 2-2. Pitch count getting up there for Traxel. Remember, he had the rough first inning when he gave up 3 extra base hits and 3 runs, and he has not had a clean inning yet. He's walked 3, given up 7 hits over the first 4 innings plus. Fought off by Jones.
Well, that's just too many base runners to have on the base to be successful, because at some point, even if you make a pitch, big league hitters can put it into play and even get a hit. So
And let's remember also that's 11 base runners in 4 innings plus against the team with the lowest on base percentage in the league. The Cubs are also last in the league in runs scored.
And that on base percentage for the Cubs as a team coming into the game was 316, which is horrific.
3-2 now to Jacques Jones. And you see they are by far the lowest. I mean, it's not even close. And that's the reason the Cubs since late April have the worst record in baseball.
And you saw the average there, 335.
The center field hit well. Beltran back near the wall, and it's out of here. Jacques Jones with his 16th home run of the year. Ramirez and Jones go back to back, and it's 6-4 Chicago.
First baseman, Phil Nevin.
Well, Jacques Jones puts a charge into one, 410 feet plus.
Well, just the fastball on the outside part of the plate. Does not want to walk. Jacques Jones goes after him. And Jones knows as soon as he hits it, a lot of histrionic for the season he's having, but still a smash to center field.
He knew it, huh? Hit the top of the fence, didn't it?
Well, Traxel had not allowed a home run in his last 4 starts. He's allowed 3 tonight. Barrett, Ramirez, and Jones. And it's 6-4 Chicago. Here's Phil Nevin. And a check swing grounder right over the bag. And a base hit for Nevin. And he'll get to second with no problem. His second double of the night. Well, that's piling on.
That is whatever you had for lunch today before the game, have it again. We saw Heath Bell getting up. Thank you very much. That hardly ever happens.
So 4 straight hits off Traxel to start the 5th inning, and Heath Bell getting ready as fast as he can in the bullpen. This just is not Traxel's night.
Not up there you go. Someone go talk to him. Stall for time. Absolutely.
Rick Peterson out to the mound to try and buy Bell time. Remember, Darren Oliver worked in the game yesterday after Mike Pelfrey got knocked out in the 5th inning, so that takes him out of the mix today as the long man and puts it in the hands of Heath Bell. And this is still a very winnable game, and you don't want to let this get out of hand.
I would just think if I were on the mound right now, Keith would have been all over that mound.
I'd have been yapping.
Been yapping to make
the umpire come out. Give Ronnie a breather anyway. In this situation where you know that someone, usually when it rains, it pours. Now Phil Nevin, a dead pull hitter, check swing, dribbler down the right field line. Things aren't going your way.
Well, but the previous 2 hitters just crushed it. I mean, Ramirez hit one into rarely seen territory in the mezzanine, and then Jacques Jones hit one over the center field fence. There's Matt Merton. There's 1 for 2. And as Traxel would just love to get an out. 3 runs home for the Cubs here in the 5th. The Cubs came into the night second to last in the National League in home runs, and they've hit 3. Ball 1 to Merton. In fact, that's been one of the real areas of concern for the Cubs with Derek Lee out for most of the year. They were out homered going into the night 130 to 88. To Merton.
Well, for Traxel to be successful, he's the kind of guy that has to throw it around the knees, because when he throws his fastball down, that sets up his split finger. Then he can get away with throwing it in the dirt. But if he has the ball up in the strike zone, when he throws the split finger down, they just take it. Like that.
Decision time upcoming for Rick Peterson and Willie Randolph. You hate to have your starter fail to go 5 in 2 straight games. Wright holds the runner and throws out Merton, and that finally is the first out of the inning. So 1 out for Traxel. And now we'll take on the number 8 hitter, Heath Perez.
Second baseman, Heath Perez.
Well, the thing that might keep Traxel in this game is that Heath Perez, the 8th place hitter, is up with the pitcher's spot next. Might be able to get him through the 5th inning.
Well, you know, Maddux isn't going anywhere. He's got a chance for a win now.
Waiting for 326.
Well, I think Gary made a very good point. This is still a very winnable game.
Yeah.
And Whitey Herzog, as we know, was not fond of pitchers,
especially starting pitchers when
exactly.
they struggled early.
He would, if they struggled, he'd get them out and go right to the bullpen. And his philosophy was, I could tell that he said he could tell from the dugout that if a pitcher didn't have his stuff, then maybe he can work his way through it. But he said early in the game, you're down 2 runs. It's a tough situation. Your pitcher hasn't got it. He's in a jam. He gives up a base hit. Now it's a 4 or 5 run lead. He goes, now you're out of it. He goes, I'm going to get him out before.
Perez takes the curveball, 1-1.
And Whitey can use a bullpen and bury a bullpen, but all the teams I played on with Whitey had good bullpens.
Well, he's one of the few managers to use extra people in that bullpen. It was always, I mean, I know the Mets were different, but they had some strong starting pitchers when I played here. So they'd go maybe with 10 out of spring training, but Whitey would have 11, 12, 13 sometimes down there.
Over Traxel. Woodward safe at first. Nevin was straight off the bag at second, but I don't think Woodward realized it. And safe at first is Perez. Runners at first and second and 1 out.
I don't know what Nevin's thinking about not going. The ball's hit to the right side of the. Well, okay. Sorry, it was back to Traxel. He may have thought that Traxel had a shot at it, but the ball hit to the right side. You break automatic. That's your first. That is your first impulse.
And what about for Woodward? Did he have any idea where Nevin was, or is he just too concentrated on the ball?
He's concentrating on the ball. He's got to know he's got to come up, maybe barehanded on the run, fast runner in Perez.
And the only play he had at second base was the backhand shove, which is doesn't have a lot of merit.
So it's an infield single for Perez and a bunting situation for Maddux, and he takes a strike. 5 hits in the inning now for the Cubs, the last 2 of the soft variety.
You'll watch Traxel here. He's going to throw the pitch and bust to third base. That's his job. Delgado coming in from first, Wright trying to hold his spot. But watch Maddux. He's very cagey and very smart. He might try to push a bunt straight through the pitcher's mound.
Nope, he's going to go ask Chris Spire. There's Chris. No, it's not.
Mike Quaid.
Yes.
And you see the perspiration on Traxel's cap.
It's a muggy night. We're up here sitting and we're sweating a little bit. They're out there performing.
Maddux with the butcher boy play, and he fouls it off. It's 0-2.
He'll do a lot of things up there, Maddux. That's always have to be careful when you're throwing to him in a bunting situation.
He's a good hitting pitcher too. Maddux was one of those pitchers, Gary, that I couldn't be aggressive on bunt plays like I always was, because he always could pull it back. He had back control, so I always had to play conservative when it was a bunt situation with Maddux.
Lifetime 175 hitter, 5 home runs in his career. See if he's bunting with 2 strikes. Corners come in, and Maddux ready to swing, takes ball 1. Traxel just fighting for his life in this game. And it gets away from Duca, and that advances the runners. Everything's going wrong in this inning for Traxel.
Well, that's going to be ruled a wild pitch because it was in the dirt, or it should be. Oh, it just got LaDuca was late getting the glove open there. It got the kind of the outside rim of his glove, the padding.
So now the infield comes in, a 2-2 count to Maddux, and Traxel in a spot where he needs a strikeout. He's only struck out 2 tonight. One of those was Maddux. And now he's 3-2 on the pitch. Well, you have to figure if he doesn't get Maddux, he's done. Willie Randolph has pushed the envelope pretty far with Maddux here in a 6-4 game with Traxel. Three and 2 to Maddux. Struck him out. You don't see too many pitchers slam their bat down after striking out.
Fastball outside corner, knee high, and Maddux knows he got the infield in. He gets put the ball in play. He's got a shot.
Well, Willie Randolph will take Traxel out at this point. Get your new Mets 6-pack. The Summer Pack and Mets Cyclones Pack offer a great mix of opponents and promotions at special prices. Get your tickets at Mets.com today.
Center fielder,
Cheap upcoming schedule. 2 more with the Cubs tomorrow night, then the early day game on Wednesday. Then the Mets head to Atlanta and Florida. 3 in Atlanta over the weekend. Getting the road trip started. Heath Bell takes the mound for the first time in 8 days. And an important spot here. 6-4 game in the 5th inning. 2nd and 3rd, 2 out. And he misses to Juan Pierre.
You know, he's recalled on July 16th, but people always think that the big outs from relievers come in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. Not true. This is one of the most important outs the Mets have to get tonight. Stay in this game.
Base hit here could make it a 4-run Cubs lead. And Pierre hits one over second base and into center field, a base hit. Nevin scores. Perez right behind him. Juan Pierre with a 2-run single. It's a 5-run 5th inning for the Cubs, and they lead it 8-4.
And all those runs are charged to Traxel. And I think I might have been more inclined to have a lefty ready for Pierre here. And that's just good hitting right there. That's not a bad pitch, Ronnie, up and in. You see how he kind of inside outed it a little bit and got the hands through. Stayed level.
Well, again, you're at the point in the ball game where it's your long man's job, and Darren Oliver worked yesterday, and that's why it was in the hands of Bell here. I guess the other choice was to go to Feliciano.
Yes.
Ronnie Cedeno, the 9th man to bat in the inning, and a pitch out. Pierre's not going. Pierre's 2nd in the National League in stolen bases behind Jose Reyes. He's got 36. Cedeno 0 for 3. Has not had the ball out of the infield. Now the Mets the last 2 days playing the 2 lowest scoring teams in the National League. Yesterday the Astros had 8 runs and 16 hits. Today the Cubs with 8 runs and 11 hits, and we're only in the 5th inning.
It's a funny game, isn't it?
It's a long season. There goes Pierre. Loduca out of the dirt makes the throw, and he almost got him. Oh man, that was quite an effort by Loduca. But Pierre has the stolen bases, 37.
Well, you're not kidding here. It's a curveball, backhands it, comes up throwing sidearm, almost a submariner. Very close.
Well, very close, but good call by Gary Cederstrom. As you can see, Juan Pierre just gets his hand on the bag before the tag from Woodward.
2-1 to Cedeno. And Bell throws a fastball by him, 2-2. Reyes' lead shrinking. Sean Figg is leading the American League, just 2 behind him. On 2-2, Cedeno watches it bounce in the dirt, and a good stop by Loduca, 3-2. Heath Bell's been on the Norfolk Express this year, up and down and up and down. He's been wonderful pitching in AAA, but Still trying to make that transition into big league success. He's had his moments.
I think he, you know, like a lot of pitchers that we see come up and down. Does he have the stuff to pitch here? Absolutely. But something happens sometimes on that brown hill in the middle of the stadium with 55,000 people watching.
It's also tough too when you haven't pitched in 8 days.
Yes.
And he's one of these guys that doesn't get the regular work, and it's tough to maintain your sharpness.
And when he's down at Norfolk, he's the closer, and he's working every second or third day. Rick Peterson trying to manage the bullpen tonight after his starter goes less than 5 for the second straight day. Cedeno down looking to end the inning. But a damaging inning for New York as the Cubs put up a 5 spot. Steve Traxel absorbed 8 runs in 4 2/3, and the Mets down by 4.